Hi, welcome to the Colorado Snow Sports Museum. My name is Jen Mason, and I'm the executive director. And I'm so lucky. I have the greatest job, probably in the ski industry right now because it's really fun. Oh, thank you, Pete. Oh, thanks. So, before we get started, I have a couple, kind of the usual things. We do need to thank the town of Vail. First of all, they give us this beautiful space for almost next to nothing. And we received money from Discover Vail for our program series. So thank you to the town of Vail for the space and also a little bit of funding for that. And we also have an underwriter tonight, which is Moving Mountains. And Moving Mountains is a luxury home rental. So if you have any family or friends that want to come and stay in town, um, they were our sponsor tonight, and they are also sponsoring next week's John Kurgowski's summer hiking, kind of Colorado quintessential classic hikes. So thank you to Moving Mountains, and then I also would like to thank Westvale Liquor Mart. They give us a great deal on all of our beverages for the evening, which is so nice of them. They're all such great community sponsors, and I have a couple board members here in the room tonight. So we have Bill Jensen, who's a board member and Hall of Fame member. And we also have Chris Anthony, who's a board member and Hall of Fame member. So thank you. We have the best board, I think. I love my board. They're great. They're kind of this amazing, eclectic group of people, and it's just incredible. So we're so lucky. And then this is our Through the Lens series, and every year we come, we think of different things, and we are so excited to have Cuchara Mountain here today because on this table right here, which is all covered up right now, there is this is the Colorado Resorts table. There's over 200 lost resorts in the state of Colorado. And a lost resort is a resort that has come and gone. It can be one chairlift and then it's come and gone, like Marble had one, St. Mary's Glacier, those are all like lost resorts. Well, Cuchara currently sits in the lost resorts category on our digital table here. We're so great. We're so excited to move them into the active resort side. So that's why Ken Clayton is here today to tell us why we think this is going to work. So this isn't the first time Cuchara has been opened and closed and opened and closed and opened and closed a few times, and then I'll let Ken tell you the whole story. But it is pretty fascinating. We're Dana and I know our board members, we're just fascinated to hear why is it going to be different this time and what's going to happen, and we're all very excited to hear the whole story. I will turn that other video off so we can hear everything. So thank you to Ken Clayton and his daughters who drove all the way up here, and he'll tell you all about it. So thank you very much, Ken, for your time today and coming to the museum. And we'll have a Q&A at the end, so try to save your questions for the end. And then we will need to use the microphones because we're recording this as part of our preservation of being a museum. We are recording all these through the lenses. So, and then if people are watching it, they can't hear your questions if you don't talk into the microphone. So at the end, we'll do a Q&A.
And I'm assuming this is working. Can you hear it? How do I turn it on? Not through the mic? Now is it working? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Jen, thank you for having us here tonight. It was kind of a shock a couple months ago in our general email inbox. There was an email from Dana saying, hey, we're calling you, or we're reaching out from the museum asking us to come over and speak. And I tell you, we never, ever imagined that we would venture outside of our county. And so the fact that we're over here and my daughters are with me back there, my wife was supposed to be here, which she's on a work trip and can't be here, which I wanted her to be because when I met her, she was living here and I was living in Aspen. And I was at the very tail end of a 17-year ski industry career, burnt out and bitter, and was leaving Aspen never to come back to Colorado in the ski industry. And I left, but somehow I ended up back in the ski industry. So I'm going to jump ahead in my story. I didn't know Chris was going to be here tonight. part of our story is Chris discovered our mountain. I think it was last fall, and put out an Instagram video of us, and he was down there on the lift saying, "This is the coolest thing. You guys got to come check this out. We want this to work." And it's been going uphill for us ever since that day. So I thank you for that. I guess that was our first jump into how important social media is today in what we're trying to do. We've got a website here that gets about 200 visitors a week, and on Facebook we get, I think last month, 104,000 visitors to a sleepy little place in southeastern Colorado. As Jen said, this place has been open and closed. I wrote it down here 4 different times. It opened in 1981 as Panadero Valley Ski Area, I think the original name was. Closed down in 89, so not a long run there, but that was the longest run out of the 4 times they were open. It opened and closed and opened and closed and opened and closed, and it closed the last time in 2000. So for 24 years now, minus 1, so 23, there's been no access to skiing other than hiking up, backcountry, skinning, split board, snowshoes, whatever. And our story starts before that, but last year we actually, when we couldn't get our lift certified, we came up with we have snowcats, and we bought a car hauler. And we welded school bus seats that we got for free in Denver. We welded it to it, and we started hauling people up the mountain, 22 people at a time. And so technically, we've been offering skiing for 2 years. If we go back to the beginning, it was a real estate venture. So it opened and closed every time at the promise of, you can buy real estate up here and live slopeside, and it failed every time because no one wanted to go there. It's not Vail, it's not Aspen, we know that. There's no access. It is about as remote as you can get in Colorado for a ski area. You know, if you've driven up and down I-25, if you see Walsenburg, part of our county, but there's not much there. And you can drive west and never make the turn, 14 miles off of Highway 160 on Highway 12, and you'll never know we're there. There's no billboards. For 20 years, there was no talk about it, and now we're getting people from, the museum here emailing us to come over and talk about what we're doing. So that's exciting. So the big part of my story, or the park story, starts in 2017. The last time it closed down, the owners picked up and left off. And there was 325 acres, I think, on the entire mountain. 50 acres at the bottom were all separate tax parcels, and they were being sold. And the community did not want someone coming in and buying this tax parcel, whatever. There was no HOA, there was no covenants restricting what you could put there. So the community got together and raised the funds to buy all of the tax parcels at the bottom of the hill. It encompassed 50 acres, and one of the 4 lifts was entirely in the bottom 50 acres. So Cuchara Mountain Park today is not the 325 acres, it's the 50 acres at the bottom of the hill. Every time someone has tried to open Cuchara Mountain Park, they did it promising, let's see, nope, that's not the right one. I had tried to get my daughter to help me here, and we ran out of time, and I'm just not good enough to do this, or quick enough, I should say. There we go. You know what? I was already on there. So this is the entirety of Cuchara Mountain Park. 50 acres at the bottom. There's our lift. We take people from the bottom to here. The rest of it's still accessed by backcountry, but Cuchara Mountain Park, as it stands today, is 50 acres at the bottom. We've got 1 lift. We've got a warming hut. We call it the Day Lodge. But when the community came together, they raised the $150,000 to buy all the tax liens at the bottom, and they donated it to Huerfano County. which in as an idea is great, but Huerfano County is historically the first or the second poorest county in the state. So there is no funding down there for a ski area. The county seat of Huerfano is Walsenburg, the city of Walsenburg, which has its own problems. And we can't do anything on that mountain that involves funding from the county because of the outrage of the community when they're not getting the basic services that they deserve. We can't take any money. We've taken a little over the years. They bought us some lift pads, some tower pads last year, but very minimal. Every improvement that's been made to that mountain in the last 5 years has been from grants or from community funding. So in 2017, when that happened, donated it to the county, everyone was all excited, but no one at that time realized that there wasn't going to be any funding or support, or very little. So what happened is the Cuchara Foundation was the organization, the nonprofit that raised the funds, donated to the park, and at the same time, there were a bunch of retired gentlemen who lived up right around the ski area who had nothing better to do, and they had tinkered with everything in their garage that they could tinker with, and they formed Panadero Ski Corporation with the sole intent of rehabbing the lift at the bottom of the hill. So 5 guys, zero ski experience, formed that board and just started trying to fix stuff, not knowing what they were fixing. Spent 4 years, buying parts, having fundraisers and trying to get this lift running, not understanding that at the end of that process, there's a board from Denver that has to come down and certify the lift. Well, they knew that, but they didn't know what was involved in that. So they spent a lot of time trying to fix stuff, and it didn't work. And about that time when they were getting frustrated, all the COVID lockdowns happened. And I'll go back, this is like, I can't imagine this happening, everything coming together without all the lockdowns. What happened was these guys got frustrated. They were giving up. They didn't want anything to do with this thing, really. And when COVID hit and the lockdowns started, my family, we were living in Texas at the time. We had a home in Cuchara, and our school district in Texas did not open up. That next school year did not open up for in-person. So my wife was already working remote and grabbed our daughters and put them in school in La Vita, which is the small town 12 miles down the road. Had no idea we'd be working on a chairlift. And what also happened is a bunch of people had sold their homes. It's an older community, and it's at 9,600 feet, and there's a lot of older people who can't breathe at that altitude. So there was a good inventory of homes, and when the lockdowns hit, people from Denver and the surrounding areas were looking to get out of Denver. And not a whole bunch, a half dozen younger families moved up. And these old guys got frustrated, and they started seeing these younger men sitting around, and not that we weren't looking for women, don't get me wrong, but they wrangled up 5, or actually there was 6 of us at the time, and suckered us into coming in and helping them on this lift. I had no intentions. I never thought I would be back in the ski industry. I was telling Jen, I walked in and I saw John Norton on that back wall. He was my first boss at the Aspen Skiing Company, and I forgot that he had been inducted, and so it brought back a lot of memories, because that was back in my early days in the ski industry, and I spent 17 years in Aspen working for the Aspen Skiing Company in one fashion or another, and in 2007, I left so bitter and burnt out that I was never going to go back into the ski industry. I wanted nothing to do with it. I'd gotten rid of all my equipment, and now today, I'm sitting here running a ski area. So my wife jokes about that, and now she's gets upset because we spend too much time tinkering on this lift. but going back a ways, when I want to say the new blood, we're not so young, but when the younger guys took over, we had I think 7-person board, and although this is about how to open up an abandoned ski lift, it's also about how not to open up an abandoned ski area. We, the current board, the previous board, and the group of 5 guys before have done a lot right, but we've also done 10 times more things incorrectly than we've ever done correctly. And now we have some direction with the current group. There's some ski under experience with the current board, but it hasn't been easy. Like we keep going back to our community and asking for more money, and money is the big thing when you're trying to rehab an old lift, and the community keeps supporting us. But back in 2021, after the new board had been brought on board, and keep in mind it was for the sole purpose of rehabbing this lift. Like there was never the goal of running a ski area. We just wanted to get this lift running so the county could bring someone in as a concessionaire, and my kids could go skiing instead of having to throw their snowboard on their back and walk up the hill, which now today I think is a great thing because they don't want to do it anymore, so now they need to do it. But we didn't, never thought that this thing would be running. But when when the new group took over, the county was finally starting to see some progress. They had no funding for us still, but they went out and tried to find a concessionaire. They brought in a group of, it was a very nice group, Moss Enterprises. Moss is a big tent company and outdoor company. And again, social media is so important in what we're trying to do today. Moss had a person on staff who was going to be running the mountain who couldn't stay off social media and fighting with the local people of Cuchara. So Cuchara is a small place. It sits right outside of La Vita. And we lived up there full time for four winters, and there's 15 families, 15 homes are occupied in the winter. And everyone was on Facebook complaining about this guy. And so ultimately the county decided not to hire them and went back out trying to find a concessionaire to come in. We had made considerable progress on the lift. We found a couple people so we started talking to the tram board in Denver. And we found some people that they recommended that we started bringing up from Angel Fire. And they were very experienced in old riblets. Every lift on that mountain is a riblet. As I said, lift 4 is the only one that's encompassed in the park. So that's the only one we can work on. 3 and 5 are in the Forest Service property. So the permits expired 20 years ago, the last time they opened. So all we can touch is that bottom lift. But we found some people from New Mexico that we brought up and paid to come and start working on the lift with us. And that summer, we got it to what we believed was going to pass the tram board inspection. So we talked to the tram board, they recommended we have some engineers come down and run us through a mock test so we don't waste our money. And we failed. We had a list of what we had to fix, and we started working on fixing that. And that's been going on for 2 years now. When the county couldn't get anyone else to come in for a concession as a concessionaire, they came to us and they said, would you guys be interested in running a park? And we're like, no, there was 7 of us, and we said, we have no desire to run this thing. We just want to fix it so someone else can come in and do it. And no one else was there to do it. In the meantime, the county had brought back the SE group who did the original use study on the property. And they came back this time and said, no one's going to be successful running a resort there unless it's a nonprofit. And we had, again, no desire to run this park, but no one else stepped up to do it. And so the county approached us and said, would you do it? And we said, yeah, we'll do it for a year. Like, that's all. We're going to try to get it going. We'll run it, throw a couple concerts in the summer, and then hopefully have this lift running so someone else can come in and do it. And this goes to where we've done everything wrong as well as right, because we've done We started working on a lift again. Didn't pass. And in the meantime, we had 2 board members who are no longer with us, who did a whole bunch of great things for us. They went out and started applying for grants and meeting people in the industry. And we applied for a $250,000 grant. $160,000 of that was going to go to rehabbing that lift, the rest to snowmaking. And 6 months later, we were awarded that grant, which opened up a whole nother bunch of problems. We thought, okay, we're going to get a grant. They're going to write us a $250,000 check, and we're going to go spend that money. We had it spent, and we were wise enough not to put any deposits down on anything because we had no idea the paperwork and what is involved with getting funded from a federal grant. I can tell you, we were awarded that grant 11 months ago, and we're still today trying to get a penny of it. Not because the entity, it's OREC and ODET, so Colorado Office of Economic Development, and then Outdoor Recreation Grant. Those 2 entities awarded us this grant, and they've been good to work with. But we had no idea that going out to bid for all of these services and goods, and we're just now getting to the point where we're going out to bid for all these goods and services. So that's part of the wrong part. Had we known that, we would have hired someone, because the grant will pay you to hire someone. You can use that funding for it. We would have hired someone 11 months ago and been further ahead. But again, we didn't know. It's just, the Aspen Ski Company was not asking me to write or manage grants. So that was not my expertise. But here we are today, and we're hopeful that we will get this money. As some of you know, in March, most of the companies that are going to be working through the summer on the lifts are booked already. So we will most likely have, if we're able to draw on these funds here in the next couple of months, not be able to work in that lift till the summer of 25, because everyone is getting booked up. If we can squeeze it in, we will try. But that's where we are today. There has been, so we live, right now we live in Castle Rock. My wife and I travel, so we wanted to be closer to the airport, but we have a home that's in the backyard of this place. And for years, this is what you would see when you went to the mountain. It was just, if there was 1 track coming down or 2, it was a good day. This is all that was there. People would hike up. People from the Springs and Pueblo would come on the weekends, or if it was a really big storm, people would come up during the week. But there's a parking lot at the bottom of this hill, and it would be full twice a year maybe. And so no one was coming there. Today, with all of our work, it's full half the days on the weekday if there's a storm, and it's full every weekend. So as of today, what happened was last year, we had promised, and we raised money throughout the year, and we tell these people at our big fundraiser over the 4th of July weekend, we're going to get it going this year, and we always believe that. We're never fundraising because we don't think we're going to get the lift running, but it didn't happen last year. And the 5 of us that are the current board members, we can't ask for more money without offering something. And I like to tell the rest of the board members, we're in the skiing business, we're not in the lift business. So we had to come up with a way to offer skiing. We've got 1 employee, so there's 5 of us that volunteer, and the 1 employee was a long-time cat operator in Winter Park, and very mechanical guy, and he's like, well, let's just buy a trailer and weld some seats to it and hook it up to the snowcat. And the rest of us are like, what are you talking about? And he sketches this thing out, and it was what you saw there. And so last year on 5 days, so we didn't have enough snow until March to do this because we weren't operating enough of the snowmaking system. So on 5 days at the end of last season, we started hauling people up the mountain. And we limited it to 50 people. We charged I think it was $38 for the day, and you would get as many lifts. You could ski more laps behind the snowcat than you could ride in the lift. And so people would come out, and by the fifth day, it was, we sold out 50 tickets, which is not a lot, but for us that's more than 20 years worth. So we were doing pretty good, and so we offered that last year, and it was a huge hit. And then, as I said, we've done a lot wrong. We've got one employee who's been with us. Our current board, he's been with us the whole tenure we've been there, and then he's been with Panadero Ski Corp probably 3 years prior to that. The only guy that gets paid, and he has a sidekick. And without those two guys, we'd be dead in the water. But they get a little ambitious sometimes and do things that they probably think they should be doing that sometimes don't work out. And so, as we were coming into this fall, we knew we had hoped to get the lift going again. And one of the things we had to do was replace a counterweight rope. I mean, this is not a new lift. It doesn't have hydraulics to keep slack out of the line or slack out of the line. It's got a, however many ton concrete weight at the end, at the bottom of it. And they went up and we bought the counterweight rope. They went up to change it, and they tied it off wrong, and they broke the lift. So they truly, structurally broke part of the lift. The county heard about it, and we of course thought we were doing the right thing, and I immediately called my contact at the tram board, and I said, listen, here's what happened. You have no jurisdiction over us right now because we're not a certified lift, but if we were, what would you want us to do? And so they gave us a plan of action. We started following that. Our big mistake was the county was our landlord, and we didn't call the county first thing, which in hindsight, we should have called them first, then called the tram board. So they found out about this. We had an old board member who the local county paper went to talk to, not knowing that he was no longer a board member. And he minimized what had happened. He, basically said, this isn't a big deal. We don't know what the county's talking about. They're full of BS, and this is nothing. And truly, they should have come to one of us, and we would have said, yeah, we screwed up. And then we screwed up again by not telling the county because we went to the tram board. And so what happened is we've got a broken lift sitting up there. We had the county came in and put a stop order on it. We could not touch that thing. And we went back and forth with them. That happened in the beginning of September, and we had our agreement with the county expired November 1st. And so they called us in October, and we thought we were going to renew our contract with them and sign up for another year. And we go in there with a list of everything we've done, like all the good things. And that lasted about 30 seconds. We started talking about this, that, and everything else, and the community and the kids and the schools and the traffic we've had up there, all the good things we did this summer with, bringing people up. And the county shut us up and just told us we were wrong. And in hindsight, we were 100% wrong. So we actually had a stop order put on the lift where we could not touch it. We could do anything else we wanted up there. We threw a couple big concerts. We started making plans for this winter, not knowing if we were going to be able to operate the park again. And what they asked us to do was go through their RFQ process, and they put that out there, and there were two entities that decided they were interested, us and another gentleman from over the pass, not this pass, Cuchara Pass, and he wanted nothing to do with the winter, and he just wanted to run a restaurant up there in the summer. We sat down with the county and interviewed with them because they had previously only talked to our old board members, and they didn't know the new board. And so the five of us went in there. Actually, there were only four of us that day. One couldn't make it, but we had our bios, we had our history, we had what we've done, what we do professionally, and we're all in corporate America, with the exception of one guy's a PA in Pueblo, Colorado Springs. But we all work in fields that have skills that transfer to what we're doing today. four of us are in corporate America. Um, the other guy said he's a PA and he runs our ski patrol. He's been a member of the National Ski Patrol for 40-some years, has a good group of volunteers that come up every weekend we're open. But we sat down with the county and they brought in, so there's three commissioners and they brought in people to kind of sink our ship. And at the end of this hour and a half sitting in front of this board talking about what we do, who we are, and why we want to do it, they stood up and shook our hands. I mean, they're like, they had no idea that, one guy works in for a company that does recreates structural damage. He's an engineer, and that's basically what we're trying to do on that lift. I'm in construction management and have been for 2 decades, and that's basically what we're doing with the park. Another guy's an accountant, and basically he's keeping track of the money with me, and another guy runs an excavation company or owns an excavation company, and we do a lot of excavating up there. So they had no idea that we actually knew what we were doing. To some degree, we still making mistakes, but most of the mistakes, the 5 of us that currently sit on the board, we were looking up to the other 2 that did everything for 2 years. Even though I was in the ski industry for 17 years, I worked lifts for a couple of those years in the beginning. I had no idea about certifying a lift. I had no idea about the engineering that went into it or the codes we had to follow. And what happened out of a lot of our mistakes is we've had to go back, the 5 of us, and learn what the other 2 guys knew. They had no ski industry experience, but they were ready to go to work on this thing. And it turned into full-time jobs for them, and they just couldn't do it. One has a young family, and one has a new bride, and they're neighbors of ours, and it was ruining their experience of coming up to Cuchara and enjoying their weekends and their summers because they were working nonstop. So they resigned, and the 5 of us took over. And as much as I miss them, they're good friends of ours. It's forced the 5 of us to understand what we're doing, so we're not making as many mistakes going forward. And that, I guess, in hindsight, that was a good thing. My wife gets upset, as do the other wives, that we spend too much time, but I don't think it's too much. My kids are here with me today, and 2 of the other board members have children. One same kids, same age as my kids, my 2 daughters, and another with young kids. And the 3 of us do it because, I was fortunate enough to grow up in an era when skiing was affordable. I grew up in the Midwest, and I skied 3 days a week. I had a high school ski from the time I was 8 until I left. And believe me, I left the minute I could, and I came to Colorado. But, I skied 3 days a week. My parents would drop us off at a school bus at the mall, and it was $10. And we would my brother and I would get on the bus, and we'd go ski all day Saturday. And they'd pick us up at the end of the day. Then I had a church ski group I would go with one night in the week. And then I had a high school and middle school ski group I would go with. And then my father had a friend who had a condo in Big Sky. So, I grew up skiing all the time, and that's why I moved to Colorado to ski. I actually came here for 1 year, and I ended up I was supposed to go to Telluride, and I never made it there, and I stopped in Aspen for a night and stayed for 17 years. But, that's why I came here, was to ski. I had a business over there that was successful, and by the end I was working very part-time for I don't remember who was in charge of the ski company back then, but it wasn't John. But I came to ski. And so my daughters for 4 years, went to school 12 miles down the road from Cuchara. And who's been to Cuchara? I know Chris has. And so if you don't know where we are, so that's Vail. This is the Colorado-New Mexico border. We're 40 miles from the border. And so the mountain sits at 90, the base is 9,400 feet above sea level. And 12 miles down the road is the town of La Vita. And my girls went to school with kids who'd never driven the 12 miles up the road, who'd never been to that park. And there were, we got to know some of the teachers over the year, but over the 4 years they were there. But the guy, there were two teachers and one other gentleman who stood out, and he was the athletic director. Um, and so I started talking to him about resurrecting this ski club, because the county used to have a ski club that would come up to the mountain. Here's a guy whose family lost millions investing in this ski area. Was told a story that was too good to be true, put money into it, and lost it, and yet he's still willing to help those kids to try to get this ski area going. I can tell you, March 22nd of this year, we have our very first county-wide kids ski day on the mountain. And I'll try to get my kids there that day, but that's why we do it today. Like, the old guy just likes to ski patrol. He's 30 years older than the rest of us, but that's what he wants to do. The four of us, the other members, this is about that community. Like I said, it's historically the poorest community in the state. When we went and talked to the county, like, there's a town in Cuchara. Cuchara is 2 miles down the road. There's nothing that's open year round. Like, there's no restaurants from New Year's to Memorial Day, is it? End of April. So, like, we don't want to offer anything to compete against what's already there. We want to get some people up there so that some of these restaurants can stay open, even if it's just on the weekends. There's a bunch of bed and breakfasts, a lodge that was used to shut down half the year that they're trying to resurrect. So what we're trying to do is, get enough days that we can stay open to where people can come up and spend some money in that community. We like to think of it as kind of the tax basis for the county. I don't think that's 100% accurate, but there's a lot of. It's not Vail, but that would be the nicer part of the county, where the more developed part of the county, put it that way. It's beautiful throughout the whole county, but it's gorgeous where we are. I do this for the kids. I do it for my kids. When we moved away, like, I was so excited to get out of here in 2007. My daughter was not born. First was not born, and we hightailed it out of here. We had been going to Cuchara for some time. My wife's brother, so my brother-in-law, his wife's family has been in the area since the 1930s. Some of the original homesteaders from Kansas. And I don't know what year it was. My daughter was probably 5 or 4, and my wife's like, I'm going to go buy a condo up in Cuchara. And I was like, that's the dumbest thing you could do with our money. I mean, I truly, like, why would you go spend $50,000? And, like, at the time, like, $50,000 for a condo, that's way too much. And I wouldn't even come up here with her from Texas, and she grabbed a girlfriend, and they drove up, and I had to come up here to Aspen, I think a week later, and she's like, just stop by and look at it, and she bought a condo. And then we bought another one below us, and we started spending our summers back in Colorado. And then, we were fortunate enough that people heard about this dumb little ski area, and the prices went up, and we sold our condos and bought a house, and then COVID hit, and we moved in full-time up, and it's a quarter mile from the ski area. It's just up the road, still with, no idea that ski area would ever operate. We've spent, 10 years hiking up that hill, and it wasn't until a couple of years ago that we even thought it was possible. We thought those old first 5 guys tinkering in their garage were just doing it to check out from their wives for a couple hours every weekend or something like that. And here we are, 5 years later, 6 years later. We've been talking to Colorado Ski Country because technically we have to offer skiing to be a member. And technically we've been offering skiing for 2 years now, so we hope we can become a member. If we can so it's all going to come down to money for us right now. if we can get the structural damage repair, and we've hired and paid for the engineering reports, we have been in contact with the tram board. We've screwed up with them too. I shouldn't say that because we're being recorded, but they know about it. And we've had to go back and say we screwed up, and here's how we're going to not do it again. But if we can get this structural damage repaired, we will. And actually, I actually skipped the most important part of this story. The county was getting frustrated with us before we sat down and interviewed with them again. And at one point, and I was going to a lot of county commissioners meetings, something I also never thought I would do. I do it for work on occasion, and never thought I would be doing it out of pleasure. But at the end of one of the meetings, one of the commissioners was so frustrated with us, he started shouting, "I wish we could just give this park back." And we jumped at that opportunity. So for the last, since September, we have been meeting with the county commissioners in attempts to get Cuchara Mountain Park given back to the Cuchara Foundation. So we believe, and we're grateful for the support or everything the county has been able to do with us. It's not been much because they just can't afford it, but we're grateful for their partnership for the last couple of years. But we believe that corporations and private parties are more inclined to donate to a 401(c) than a county. And so a month and a half ago, the county commissioners, 2 of the 3, voted to start the process to give the park back to the Cuchara Foundation. And it looks like it's going to happen. The minute that happens, we can go back to work on that lift. And we plan to. We will not be able to upgrade it as we plan to do with the grant funds, but we will structurally get it repaired by certified welders and everything that the tram board has asked us to do, so that we can spend $16,500, I think, to bring them down and run us through the tests, and hopefully we'll pass. We've got through the tram board, we found not an engineering group, but a group out of Evergreen that specializes in working on old riblet lifts. So we've engaged them. We engaged them when we first had the damage down there. And they're going to help us get that done. Well, pay them, but they're going to come down and help us do that so that we can then try to get certified again. So we're trying to do things the right way. Another funny story is, every year, so the lift ran. I mean, it technically ran, and it was most of the systems we thought would pass the test. It ran up until August when the damage happened. And per code, we could not put anyone from the public on there. We could ski patrollers or construction-related activity. We could get them on there. And we have another volunteer who, we could not be here without him. But as he got a little overzealous, and we have a fundraiser on the hill. We open up the mountain to one of the local real estate agencies, does a big fundraiser for the volunteer fire department. They put on a movie on the mountain. Well, in not the best judgment, our maintenance guy decided to ride the lift when there's 50 people sitting down there in the park watching a movie, and he's filming, and he's up there filming the reels because the wheels. They've been working on the shiv wheels, but to the 50 people sitting in the park, it looked like the public was riding that lift. And it wasn't 2 days later, the tram board was investigating us. So we've done everything wrong, but again, we're trying to do everything right. The tram board had made a decision that there was no basis for an investigation. We were in the right. Whoever reported it did not understand what was going on. But that's the kind of stuff that's happened to us. We are so close that we just keep going, but yet there's so much that goes wrong that we're all ready to throw in the towel at any point. This year has been good. We got a late start on snowmaking. We had to get an agreement with we're actually in a small water district. We have rights to the water that is in the stream behind us. We have to pay for it, but we came up with an agreement with the water district. They let us draw the water. and we started making snow, and we've had a very successful winter. We opened. We're in Vail, so I have to show this, but well, I'm not going to. We poke fun at Vail, Aspen, Deer Valley, all the time because of prices. I can tell you. Let's see if I can. Bear with me if you have a second. I didn't even think about this till earlier. So my daughter, I'm the social media expert as of late, which is scary. Anyways, when it came out right after New Year's that single day tickets were $300 here, I think it was Steamboat, Deer Valley, and a couple others. We started putting on Facebook, we are cheaper. You can come ski on a snowcat with us for a day for cheaper than a cheeseburger, Coke, and a fries at Vail. And so Ski Magazine heard that and came down and talked to us. We had Ski Magazine, we had Colorado Public Radio, we've had Mountain Town Magazine, a lot of press this year, and it really took off after Chris did his movie. We did a fundraiser with Chris last Veterans Day with his movie, and it was we've gotten a lot of press after that. But Ski Magazine came down and interviewed, or they talked to us, and then their headline was "Cat skiing for less than a cheeseburger, fries, and Coke at Vail." And like 3 days later, they had to revise it. So it no longer says that, but for 3 days, we had the claim to fame of being cheaper than a cheeseburger for a day. We poke fun at the other resorts. I can tell you, for the people that come ski us, it's the exact same thing why they come ski here. We get people who skied the mountain 30 years ago. We get people who are bringing their grandkids up who skied the mountain 30 years ago. And, I mean, I guarantee you they had the same feeling skiing in our little 50 acres as any one of us on this mountain or Aspen. They just want to be skiing. And so for us, we can't offer much, but we're offering what those people need. There's not a lot of hope in that valley. There's not a lot of new businesses. The county just, it is what it is, and we're trying to help any way we can. For us right now, it's going to start with these kids on March 22nd. Ultimately, we want to get Chris back down there with his foundation, and we want to start fundraising for that. But we're going to start with the county kids. No one thought we could do this. The county commissioners didn't really want us to do it, and that's why ultimately they've decided to give the park back. In addition to saying, the commissioner yelling at us, we wish you could give the park back, they two of them flat out admit that they have no business running a ski area or a park like that. The park, the Cuchara Foundation got some bad advice from an attorney and there's nothing, I'm not saying anything bad about attorneys, but someone had warned them in the very beginning when they raised the funds that they should never take ownership of that park. They should pass it right due to the county because they were worried about pollution, remediation, any gas, oil spills, and I work in that field, and there's federal money to clean that up. It's not pretty, it's not fun, it's not easy, but they should have never given that park to the county. So we love the county that we're in, but I can stand here tonight and tell you that we are so excited to work for the Cuchara Foundation. It should go through in the next couple of weeks, and not that we don't want to work for the county, but the Cuchara Foundation and the Panadero Ski Corp are very well aligned. We all want what's best for that county, for that valley, and we're willing to do whatever it takes to get that area running. We get, I don't know, maybe 60 people up there. We sold ski passes for $200, $100 less than a single day at Vail. And you could come up and ski all day, Saturdays and Sundays. We're open weekends for $200 a year. And I'm telling you that still is, it's a lot of money for some people. People would come up and buy a ticket one weekend, and you'd see them the next weekend buying another $40 ticket because that's what it is a day. And we just started saying to people, if you want to buy a ticket, we'll apply those to your season pass. And so we've sold a ton of season passes. We anticipate that now that the high school wrestling tournaments are over, basketball is finishing up, girls basketball, boys basketball, volleyball. Last year, the day that those tournaments ended, every local kid from La Vita was up there snowboarding and skiing. And so we're hoping that, you know, Texas spring break, I think, is next weekend, and our valley is full of second homeowners from Texas, and I lived there for 15 years, so I got to say nice things about Texas. But we're hoping that we have a huge summer or huge spring. We're hosting our very first. Well, our lone employee has gone above and beyond and built a terrain park, and it's nothing like you would see up here, but it's got, I think, 12 features. And on March 16th, we're having a rail jam. So we're bringing kids in, and actually young adults and some adults are signing, paying $10 to come up and be in a contest. You know, we never thought that would happen. Even last year, we never thought that would happen. This guy started grabbing donated parts like La Vita propane, the little company down the hill, gave us a propane tank, so he welded it up and put it up on the snow, and it's one of the features. And the guy just he looks at stuff differently. Not like the 5 board members. He's like, what can I find that I could use 4 years from now? And he's done that for 4 years, and we're just using, you know, stuff that's been donated to us. From his connection at Winter Park, the city of Denver donated a snowcat to us last year. It was at the end of its, you know, useful life, but the guy went and fixed it up, and you know, hope, God willing, it'll go a couple more years. So that's how we get stuff. It's just word of mouth. We've got a bunch of assets up there with 3 or 4 snowcats, 3 run, and we just use what we can. And you know, hopefully one of these days we'll be in touch with the right people, and they'll have, you know, an old rental fleet or whatever. Right now we're talking to a company out of Vail, out of Pueblo, that are going to come down on the weekends and rent skis to our customers, because that's so far beyond us right now. We're just trying to pay the bills and offer skiing. And so that's how we're surviving. There's a small little restaurant at one of the buildings that was not part of the tax liens, and it allows them now, for us being open through the winter, they get to stay open on the weekends. And so people up there have somewhere to eat. They have somewhere to buy, you know, the basic groceries. So we're seeing a little progress, and you know, hopefully, we never want to. We don't envision. I'm not going to say never want to. We don't envision being open 7 days a week. But if we can stretch it to a Friday and Saturday, Sunday, that's great. If we can stretch it to a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's great. We're happy with Friday, Saturday right now. But with that lift going next year, hopefully, you know, we can open a couple more days a week. We found out the hard way that we should have been open President's Day this year. We had a whole bunch of people show up Monday morning, and we had made the decision that, hey, no one's going to be here. Why would we open? And next year we'll be open on President's Day. And, you know, hopefully spring break next year. We've got a couple, you know, Kansas has a big community out there. Texas has a big community. Oklahoma. So we just have to figure out when people are out there on spring break and try to make it work so we can be open for them. I do. Yep. And I tried to find some good ones. Let me show you this first. So this is what we do. This is our base area. That's the ski area. Chris Anthony stood there a year ago, and it's been nothing but going uphill for us since then. But that's our day lodge. We sell tickets out of there. It's a warming hut, basically. And this is what we do. You've got a snowcat, and I'll show you the trailer here on the next video. But we pull 22 people up the hill at a time. And if you're a decent skier, you can beat the snowcat back down. You don't have to be good, and then you never have to miss a lap. But this is what it is. It's like cat skiing. You know, we offer really good beginner terrain and some decent intermediate, but this is on the weekends it's full. And the kid, like this guy, his grandparents are from Pueblo. I mean, where on the mountain? Where can you go? And he can't get lost. I mean, there's 4 ways down, and they all get to the bottom. And this guy was here 2 days in a row. I think he was like 7 years old, maybe, was he? I don't know. And he just was making laps on his own. And that's why we're there. So it's just the community. These are condos that were built. They built employee housing up there when they first opened, and there is a community up here. There's vacation homes, a few full timers, but it's what is it? What's below what's past Minturn? So Red Cliff, when I first came out here, there was like nothing there, and I don't know if there is anything there now, but it was. I envision living up here in the winter was a lot like living in Red Cliff. You don't get much sun. There's not a whole lot of people, and if you like that, it's great. But if you like going to the grocery store and having it close, it's not great. Right now, 324 feet. Well, so if we can open the upper part, I think it's close to 1,000. It's going to take a lot. I mean, the Forest Service has indicated that they don't want to talk to us right now, because they've seen so many failures. If we can prove to them we can operate this successfully, they'll talk to us. But that's ways down the road. Part of the problem is that the runs were cut facing the wrong direction. They sit in the sun all day. We can keep snow at that bottom part with our snowmaking, but it falls up high and it blows off and it melts. So it would be tough to open up. And we told the county we don't want to open the top. We just want to focus on the 50 acres. So that's how we got back into it. This is not Chris skiing, by the way. This would be me, so I'm not going as fast. But this is what we offer. I mean, and my kids, we've all been doing this for years. It's just now we don't have to hike up the mountain. That's about it. It is. So we've got 2 cats that we use for grooming. This one comes down at the end of the day and or at the end of the night and hooks up the trailer. We groom Thursday, Friday, Saturday night to keep it in shape for the weekend, and we'll make snow during the week if it's cold enough, but we don't groom during the week. Oh yeah, that's part of the deal. We never want that to close. We get so many people now. Like I talked about the parking lot being 1 or 2 cars. It's full. Like it's full with our skiers. We've got some designated skiing or sledding and tubing hills. The day lodge is full of people every day now, and we never want to close it for backcountry. Yeah. It's not extreme backcountry, but you're skiing on an old ski resort. We've had the Colorado Avalanche Safety. I can't remember their exact name. They were up 2 weeks ago, came and saw us, and spent the day up on our backcountry. But we get a lot of snow, but then we go a long time where we don't get snow. So when it's good, and when it's not, it's man-made snow at the bottom. That's West Peak in the back. So from the top, you get a view of West Peak and down the valley. That's our ski lift. Well, that will be that will be the Cuchara Foundation ski lift. But this is the kind of stuff we've done this year. It hadn't happened up there in 20 years, and we're trying to do something small, and it just keeps getting, a little at a time. We get better at what we're doing, and we get more people up there.
So, Ken, how long did it take you to drive here today? Like, how far
Well, we
is
came
it
from
from
Castle
here?
Rock. So
Oh, you did.
when we've driven up here in the past, it's 5 hours in the winter. Yeah. And how far is it from Denver? 3 hours, with 0 I-70 traffic. we saw that.
Tagline could
Yes.
be.
Well, we're 15 miles off I-25. Yeah. If you know where Walsenburg is, it's 20 miles. Yeah.
Your tagline could be cheaper than a cheeseburger and no traffic.
Yeah. No traffic. I-25 has its problems too. Let's see what else I have.
So this place it's amazing. When you go there, first of all, it's in this beautiful part of Colorado. So that's he hasn't even mentioned how beautiful it is down there. And the wonderful thing is that a tiny bit is a huge impact. And that's what I thought as I want to went down and got involved. We did that fundraiser in Walsenburg, and there's a lot of little cool bed and breakfasts and lodging in Walsenburg. There's an old railroad house that's been converted into a really cool place to stay, which is only about 20 miles from the base area. The base area is at around 9,400 feet, and the top of that mountain is like 11.
11 something.
And so the elevation's unbelievable. But what I am curious about, because I definitely want to be involved in that, what exactly is happening March 22nd? Because I want to, since it's for the kids, I want to make sure that I support that.
So on March 22nd, we have someone who's been involved with in the past. And sorry, Cuchara means spoon in Spanish. And I didn't put Colorado, so I tried to Google images and I got spoons. But I was just going to show some pictures. It's a tiny little town. I mean, there's a row of mailboxes, and it finally was paved. They put asphalt down 2 years ago, so our 4th of July parade is no longer in the dust. But it's probably 200 yards long, a main street, and that's it. But what's happening on the 22nd is one of our longtime volunteers has gathered up or is organizing transportation from Walsenburg and Levita schools up to the mountain. We're going to open up the mountain for free for the kids. We're working with a ski shop out of Boulder to supply rentals. We're going to do scholarships, so if someone can't afford it, they can go. And we're trying. So there's 3 school districts in the county. Gardner, which if you guys have never been to Gardner, it's on a beautiful road between Walsenburg and Westcliff. But it's challenged economically also. So we're trying to get a bus lined up to bring the 3rd school district in. But we're just going to open the mountain for the kids. It's the least we can do, Chris. Let me see if I can get it set up. We'd love that. Thank you.
Chris just offered to pay for the bus.
Any other questions?
The question is, do you have private
So
money coming in?
we have donations coming in. We've had some foundations give us some money, some sizable checks, nothing major, but just when we're about to run out of money, we get a $25,000 donation from someone. So yeah, that we get a lot of donations, and that's the only way we survive.
What do you mean when you say the trails were cut wrong? Were they southern exposure?
Yes, they're northeast and between. They're just not north. And the wind blows what snow falls off at the top, and then the sun just bakes it dry.
It does have snowmaking, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The snowmaking is already infrastructure in there.
Yep.
So that is
We put
surprising.
1,200 feet of new pipe in this year to expand that 50 acres, and so we're sitting pretty right now with that bottom acreage we have.
So when was the last time the Upper Mountain lifts ran?
2,000.
And can you guys sneak up there and scavenge parts? Who owns those? Not the Forest Service.
No, we're not allowed.
Okay.
No, actually, we look at those lifts to figure out what it would take. We're buying the parts from one of the 3 suppliers that are still available and where we can find parts for this lift. But if the Forest Service would allow us, sure, we'd go up and probably take shiv wheels and whatever else we could salvage. But no, we're not taking the parts. They won't allow it.
So the Forest Service has that tightly.
It's an asset that I'm sure that the paperwork involved with
Yeah.
decommissioning that asset and getting rid of it would be so extensive.
No, it's
it's
expensive.
cheaper for
It's
us to
crazy.
buy parts.
Okay.
We wish, but one day, if they allow us, I mean, our guys from New Mexico have assessed that lift, and I mean, unfortunately, the better of the 2 faces due east, so that would be the easier one to do, but it's the harder one to maintain the snow on. well, hopefully you guys can come down and visit someday. We'd love to host you on the ski bus.
Great presentation.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
one
cool.
thing.
Yeah.
This is so this is one of the original posters from the ski area. Now I can't figure out the where I put the folder. No, that's not it. But I might have to get my daughter to come help me.
She's right here. You want me to get it?
Oh, new folder, that one. That one's not it. So this is the original ski area poster. And it's funny, we used to make fun of this. It hangs in the basement of our house. It came with the house. We didn't buy it. But we used to make fun of that. And I had my mom go dig up a bunch of old pictures from when we were skiing. And it was that without the cowboy hat. I mean, we looked just like that. But so this year we decided we were going to make some sweatshirts to, we sell sweatshirts, but we'd never done this. So we put that on the back of the sweatshirt, and we brought one for Jen tonight. So there you go. We're,
God, I love it. This
again,
is amazing.
we never thought that anyone would ever want to hear what we're doing. So this is just an honor to be here. It's so much fun. Afton Alps, Buck Hill, Highland Hills. I went to UMD, so I skied Spirit Mountain at night.
So I love that you were in the ski industry, said you would never come back, and look
Never.
at you now.
Yeah, my wife said a couple years ago, a year and a half ago, did you ever think you'd be running a ski area again? And I'm like, never. I didn't want to, didn't think I would. I sold all my skis, my boots, never to come back, and I guess I should have saved some things. It is a lot better now.
Well, thank you, Ken, so much.
Thank
you
you,
for your
guys.
passion for this project, and I really, really hope we're gonna move you. We'll get you off the lost resorts and into the into the active resorts. So thank you so much for everything. Thank you all for coming.